Hello everyone and welcome to Ranking Spankings, our ranking show where we tier list a band's discography through chronological order until we have their definitive best to worst ranking. We've already done Foo Fighters, we've done Weezer, and today we are going to look at British alt-rock band Muse. Muse is a fun word to say, and I tell you what, another fun word to say is, it's my name. My name is Tom, and I am joined by equally fun time guys, Drew Friday.
Hi.
And Matthew Dobby.
Hello.
How are you guys doing on this Muserific day?
Wait, Tom Baker. No, it wasn't that fun to say. You're lying.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's no Drew Friday.
I mean, Drew Friday is, yeah, I can't really deny that. That is a fun thing to say.
It's banging. No, I'm chilling. How are you, Dobby?
I'm not chilling.
He's sicky poos.
I'm sicky poos.
That's not what you want. But I tell you what is a good remedy. Music. Music is always a good remedy to make me feel better. I was going to say, for full disclosure, I am not the biggest Muse fan myself. I dig them. I like a lot of their singles, but I've never been one of these people that's, you know, gone through their back catalogue, back to front, and listened to everything, which is why I have brought you guys on as the resident Muse fans here at UDS. So what was your sort of introduction to Muse? Like, what was there a particular album or song, or how did you first, you know, get into the band?
I think there was a girl I fancied in year 9 who had a picture of Matt Bellamy on her planner. So I was like, hey, I'll get into Muse. So I did.
Sex god Matt Bellamy.
Sex god Matt Dobby.
Was it successful?
No.
Learning all about Muse didn't get you the girl in the end.
No.
But
I got into Muse.
Yeah, I suppose that is something, you know, like that is something at least. What about you?
Found a greater love, a platonic love, a musical love. I definitely got into, I think I got it from Kerrang! When I was a kid. Time Is Running Out was probably the first one that I ever heard, or rather saw the music video as well. Yeah, it was a banger. It was like good stuff, with like spending hours and hours just hanging out in my living room watching Kerrang! And Scuzz, just flipping between the channels on Sky between Kerrang! And Scuzz back and forth for like hours if there was a trash song on. And yeah, no, I picked up some bad musical habits from there, but good Muse ones as well. I like Muse.
There was a hot 5 years where my favorite song was Scars by Papa Roach, purely because of the flipping between Scuzz and Kerrang! And
there's not a more defining Kerrang! Moment for me when I was growing up than having Evanescence Bring Me to Life followed by any Nickelback song. Sure, How You Remind Me or Hero, the Spider-Man song.
Someday.
And then followed by It's All About the He Said, She Said bullshit, you know, just like, and loving it unironically.
Oh,
good
God,
shit.
yeah.
It's good stuff.
Like, R.I.P. to Scuzz. Kerrang's still knocking about, but they're going... Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever flicked onto Kerrang!
Yeah, Scuzz were always better.
Yeah. Kerrang's more mainstream now. Like, I went on there the other day just for, you know, nostalgia's sake. I think, like, the Fratellis were on there or something.
Yeah.
No.
Kasabian as well. No.
Like, I don't mind the Fratellis, that one song at least, and Kasabian have their space, but Kerrang! Is not their space for that kind of stuff, so...
There is limited airtime for people who don't fit into the mainstream. And Kerrang! Was always a bit where you could get just about alternative rock, nothing too heavy, but it was pretty much easy vibes. It was like Green Day. It was about the level that you could expect. But Scuzz was like, you had no idea. You could get Slipknot, you got Metallica in there. It was good.
I mean, that's how I found bands like Ruben, who have like become lifelong favorite bands, was just flicking through Scuzz and everything. And I think was it about 2016 that they closed the channel down, which is a real shame.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the thing with Scuzz was, I remember someone was talking about it. Scuzz was literally just one person. One person was in charge of it, and that's how it went. And so as the owner, I can't remember who owned Scuzz, but as the owner sort of decided that Scuzz was no longer necessary, it was just a case of get rid of that one person. There it goes.
No, it's sad because Kerrang! Is part of, like, you know, as a brand, is part of like the conglomerate with lots of other music outlets as well, isn't it? It's just a subsidiary, but yeah, it's a shame. The magazine, I know the magazine's been out of print during lockdown, but the magazine team is still ace, and they do good stuff. But yeah, the music channel, not so much. But we digress, because we're not here to talk about our favorite music channels. We're here to talk about our favorite music albums.
Get in the bin.
Yeah.
Now, you can record from the bin from now on.
I will. Well, that's a good segue to just go through the rankings as we have them here at UDS. Our top tier is called Very Good, Very Good. It's an inside joke. Just go with it. Then we have A, B, and C, self-explanatory. And then the bottom D tier, this time we've put as poos. Because I've put.
Don't try and involve us in this.
Well, with Foo Fighters, we had the Pooh Fighters. For Weezer, we had Rivers Cuomo No, and so
that was pretty good.
I mean, thank you. And so obviously for Muse, it had to be Poos.
I can't wait for Ruben when you do Pooh Bin.
Oh, whoa!
They already have 3 albums. We won't be able to do it, unfortunately.
All in the Pooh Bin.
How dare you? If that's the case, then just sign me up for the Pooh Bin.
You heard it here first. Tom loves the Pooh Bin.
No, I just can't get enough of that Pooh Bin. Oh, Dobby's feeling ill. We should probably change the subject.
Oh yeah.
Should we dive in with the first album?
Okay.
Oh, the first album is Showbiz from 1999, I want to say.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is, a very early look at what Muse were doing. Do you guys have any initial thoughts on this debut album?
We were talking just before. Yeah. Sorry, Drew.
No, go.
We were talking just before we started recording about how me and Drew just don't really remember Showbiz ever existing. And that's my initial thought, really. I know there's one song on it I know I like. I think there might be another one. Sunburn, I think I like as well. But Muscle Museum is the big one from that album. And other than that, I don't really remember it. And I've never listened to it more than, once a year or something, if I'm feeling generous.
Fair enough.
It's nothing on it is bad. I couldn't even say that there's a song that I actively dislike on there, but nothing stands out to the degree that some of their later singles did. Mm. I think it's just a real shame it came out after Radiohead got big. You could probably say that about Muse entirely, actually. But it's just a real shame because I think OK Computer was like 97 or something. Mm. So if you'd heard that and then Showbiz comes out, or rather you were in the landscape where both of those were active bands, you might think of Muse as like, more of that good stuff. Interesting. Let's play some more. Or just like, hacks. Actually, I think some people do, but it's just there's nothing too much remarkable about it.
A little bit derivative then.
They hadn't not much of their fusiony type genre crossing wackiness occurs there. It's a lot more, I don't want to say acoustic, but it's a very sort of naturalistic sound. Really.
Yeah, I don't think they found the sound that Muse would come to be known for yet.
I'd probably say the standout was Matt Bellamy's voice.
Well, that was my next point, is that despite sort of having perhaps a little bit more generic on the instrumental side, there's never been denied that Matt Bellamy, should I say, has got a set of pipes on him. He can definitely belt them out. And I think as I say, I've listened to a little bit of this album, a lot more in the past, but revisited recently, and there is a lot to be said that some of that raw edge is kind of exciting, but and also it's sort of in the context of 99, it was probably still a little bit ahead of its time in some respects, but it wouldn't sort of cement their legacy as would the next album, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely.
So if there's nothing more to be said about Showbiz, where would you stick Showbiz?
So have we got 6 tiers here? Have we got a D and a Poos?
No. Ignore the one below Poos. It goes Very Good, A, B, C, and Poos.
Okay.
I want to be putting that in a B, but knowing what comes next, I mean, like, what's worse, to be like unremarkable or bad? Because there's some like. Yeah, if nothing stands out, whether through something so bad that you've really got a gripe with and it gets on your goat, but the rest of it is good. But to have the whole thing be like, yeah, I wouldn't turn it off, but I'd never turn it on in the first place. I don't know if that's worse.
I would say that is C then. C to me is always the grade, the more forgettable, you know, not necessarily bad in and of themselves, but if it's forgettable, then C is where I would tend to put it.
I think, like, the thing, I'm looking at Muse's discography, and I don't think I'd say this is necessarily... I don't think I'd say this is necessarily their worst album,
No,
but it's one of their weakest. I think C. I think I'd put C as well.
Okay.
Like a high C.
We'll put it at the 12. I mean, it has to go at the top and the bottom and the middle of C at the moment because it's the only one in there. So next up, we have Origin of Symmetry. Someone will have to remind me of the year this one came out.
2001.
2001. And this is a band really sort of coming into their own with this album. You've got some bops coming off this album. This has got Plug-in Baby on it, hasn't it?
It sure has, and Newborn, and I mean Citizen Erased is my favorite. This is a massively confident leap forward for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sort of the guitar work in this album is just on another level, and I cannot remember the bassist's name for my life, but
Chris Wolstenholme.
Yes, he's got some fat beats.
In this Newborn's bass line throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
gets my goat there. That's crazy good. Plug-in Baby starts experimenting with guitar sounds as well.
That opening riff,
edging into noise music. It's crazy good. Love it.
So I'm feeling confident that this is going near the top of the board.
I'm inclined to say it's their best album.
Really? I don't know if I'd go there, but I'd say it's an S tier for sure.
Yeah, and I'm solidly putting it in S. Like I can't think of even when it. Oh, what's the westerny one? Dark Shines.
Yeah.
Like even that one. Like even when it goes down low, I think that was something that happens. We'll talk about it later, but what's it called? The one with time is running out.
Absolution.
The down songs on that one, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but the quiet ones on there tend to sort of make me snooze a little bit. But when they veer between up and down energy on this album so well, and none of it is not entertaining. It's all so interesting every single time. They haven't established a solid like one sound because it switches up so often, but to me, that's fantastic. Yeah, I want to not expect what's coming next on an album.
Absolutely. You got to leave them wanting more. And boy, howdy, do they deliver with their next album, Absolution, which I'm going to put my uneducated hat in there and say it's my favorite Muse album. This is from 2003. I think this is where they take a little bit more of a darker, grungier tone with a lot of their music. Like you've got sort of the sinister vibes of Time Is Running Out, and you've got the energy and the catharsis of tracks like Hysteria and Stockholm Syndrome, I believe, are both on this album.
Stockholm Syndrome. That's a hell of a song.
Oh yeah, that was actually the first Muse song I ever heard, because I remember very vividly being not very old and seeing because that's the one where the music video is that sort of weird color effect on the camera where it's sort of like the heat map style thing where it goes all sort of orangey, blotchy and everything like that. And I really, for some reason, that music video really sticks in my brain. So this is kind of where my journey with Muse started in a sense. But I've waffled on enough. Tell me, guys, what did you think of this album?
Yeah, I like Absolution quite a lot. I don't think it's S tier. I'd put Absolution in A tier personally, but I've got a lot of time for Butterflies and Hurricanes is my favorite on this album, for the record. But I do think when this album feels like it's not necessarily firing on all cylinders, it does lose my interest fairly frequently.
Fair enough. Interestingly,
I'd verify that.
This is also their first #1 album in the UK. Origin of Symmetry got up to #3, but this actually got to #1. And I think every single one of their albums, just checking now, every single one of their albums since then has debuted at #1. So this is sort of, I suppose, them really taking over the world with this album, or at least the UK. So
the forgettability of Showbiz kind of makes Origins of Symmetry in most people's minds their like debut album, where everybody started to notice Muse and thought, "Who the hell are these guys?" And then they kept an eye out for this album, and when this album launched, to just huge praise, plenty of airtime, like loads of live tours, which were arguably a lot better than some of their like studio work. When they play live, it's an experience. Whether it's like they have like two kinds of shows, I suppose. Ones that are like extremely rehearsed and a hell of an experience to go to, and some where they will just riff and experiment and absolutely go mental. Either is fun, and this is where they had that opportunity. I'd say that Hysteria is probably my favorite off of the album. Regularly voted as one of the best bass lines ever, as well.
Yeah,
which is fair. But yeah, I'd agree with Dobby in that I'd put it an A tier, just because I think the front half of the album is a lot better than the back half, and when it dips, it really dips in a lot of places. I couldn't say anything about things like Thoughts of a Dying Atheist or Small Print and Struggling. Yeah.
Fair enough. So out of interest, have you guys both seen Muse live?
Yes, only once so.
Yeah, once. I saw them for their last album tour at Wembley.
So you've seen them more recently. I'd love to see them again, because I saw them in 2010 on the Resistance tour. And I mean, I thought they were good, but I also had to leave early, so I didn't get to see like the encore or anything. And I mean, I didn't get to see Knights of Sidonia, and that's what I was there for. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
I mean, that's a good segue for 2006's Black Holes and Revelations.
2006?
Okay. Yeah.
That's a gap. What happened there? All right.
They got big.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, excuse me, it is an album which to this day, if you flick on any of the music channels, whether, you know, it be like things like Kerrang or even like a lot of the mainstream ones, is it Supermassive Black Hole and Nice
Yeah.
They are always on there, to the point that I have almost a Pavlovian response now to the opening riff of Supermassive Black Hole, that I have to change the channel because it's like, oh, not this one again. Not the one with the owl morph suits. That's,
oh my god.
Yeah, but be that as it may, that is just my personal oversaturation of that track. What do you guys think of this album?
So following you two, Drew's favorite was Origin of Symmetry, Tom's was Absolution. This is my favorite Muse album, Black Holes and Revelations. I think Revelations even is, I mean, no doubt S tier to me. It's one of my favorite, probably one of my top 20 favorite albums of all time. In fact, wow. I think there's only one song on this album I'm not keen on, which is Soldier's Poem, which is number 5. Everything else I think flows so beautifully together. The riffs are in your face when they want to be, and it's intricate and wonderful when it wants to be. Invincible and Starlight, for example. And of course, it has Knights of Sidonia, which is without question the best Muse song. One of the best songs ever written, frankly, as well.
I think it's their Bohemian Rhapsody. For sure.
It's epic.
That is a really good analogy. I mean, I struggle to listen to Knights of Sidonia without thinking of the music video as well, which is one of the best music videos of modern rock, in my opinion.
It's iconic.
The
matches perfectly.
I mean, it's kind of, I suppose it's a bit Westworldy in that it blends sci-fi with Western themes, but it's fantastic. I love that song so much. Just sort of the gradual build up to that first sort of vocal line with the
the bit where it goes fully quiet with the "No one's going to take me alive," and all of it's got is the singing with the little subtle bass. That always gives me a bit of a chill. Like, wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, no, this is, and also again personally, this came out in 2006, where, you know, I was sort of getting in some, you know, the start of my teenage years, and when you really start to, you know, start developing your own music taste and everything. So this being on TV quite a lot was very sort of influential, and then sort of allowing me to expand outside of just the stuff I'd been exposed to either from parents or what have you. So yeah, this came out in a cool time in my life, and I have lots of fond memories. As I say, you know, subjectively, I still think Absolution is better, but reading the room, I think this is better than Origin of Symmetry, and would be happy to put it in S tier.
I mean, I'm happy to say it's better than that Origin of Symmetry. I'm not sure Drew would.
I still wouldn't say it's better than Origin of Symmetry, just because there's a little less variety. It's all up. It's fantastic. Stuff like Assassin and Supermassive Black Hole and all that kind of stuff. I love the oomph of it all. But there's a little less variety than I'm used to, than wanting. And so I'd still put it in S tier. I think it's absolutely fantastic album. It's only just slightly behind Orange Trojan for me, but
I think it comes to you, Tom.
In S.
Who do I like more out of my friends? Not the albums. They can get it. No, I'm joking.
Oh, it's political now.
I know.
Put them in the poo bin.
That's it. The only way I can. The only way I can be fair is to put Origin of no. So what is it? I've got the name of the album.
He's sweating so hard.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Black Holes and Revelations is going in D tier. It's going in.
It's a tie. You both lose.
No, I'm going to put it above Origins of Symmetry.
Okay.
That is my.
It's good to know who your fucking friends are, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, geez, Rick. Oh no.
You think you know someone, but you look around, you're in a snake pit. Absolute snakes.
The wolves are at old Gil's door. Oh, let's move on quickly to the Resistance because I'm gonna feel.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd like to.
Yeah.
Run away from your choices, Tom.
Resistance came out in 2009, and it's not as good as either of the albums that we've talked about recently.
No.
It's got a couple of good songs on, but this is where I think they went a bit too far into the stadium rock camp.
They got up themselves. They got pretentious.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I was hyped about this. I followed all of like the promo materials and I stand them like a little boy. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be hyped for this album. And I tried my best to love it, but there are some glaring weaknesses in it.
Yeah. Some of the singles are good. Like I really like Undisclosed Desires for it's like kind of seductive 80s alt pop thing.
I think MK Ultra is one of their finest they've ever produced.
MK Ultra is great.
Love that.
Unnatural Selection I've got a bit of a stiffy for and all.
Do we know what MK stands for, and is it Mortal Kombat?
MK Ultra is an experiment
program
that was done. Oh, I can't remember. I don't know if it was
the
about
LSD one.
LSD, yes.
It's the LSD one, yeah.
Yeah, it's Mortal Kombat Ultra.
The untitled, unreleased game. They should sample that for the next one.
They should.
Do like a unsustainable type remix of the Mortal Kombat theme.
Yeah. There's a new movie coming out, Muse. Come on, Matt. Not you, Dobby. But Dobby, what do you think of this album?
I think, I think it's got good stuff, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's their. No, maybe I do think it's their weakest album.
Really interesting.
Oh, knowing what's coming, I'm hesitant to agree with that one.
I think I'd probably put it above Showbiz, but I don't think it deserved a B tier.
No, I was going to look at sort of C because
really.
What, you thinking lower?
No, higher. I think it's still redeemed by some fun tracks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I never listened to Exogenesis. None of the symphony shit.
Yeah, this is the point at which Muse just started doing things at the end of their album for the sake of entertaining themselves, I think.
Yeah.
And Exogenesis is fine, but it's like I don't care.
If I were to listen to classical music, I probably wouldn't turn to Muse to do so.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've got it in the album, they did put it at the end, which means that you can almost consider it like a B-side and turn it off by the time you get there. But everything that comes there, for the 7 songs or so that are there, they are fun. They are good. They're like Resistance, Eurasia. Even Eurasia's a bit fun.
I think you've convinced me to a B.
Well, let's put it in B for now, and we can always rejig later, depending on how we feel after the next 3. So let's move forward another 3 years to 2012's The Second Law, which has a very... I really dig the album cover, at least. Couldn't tell you much else about this album, to be honest. This is where I really sort of fell off a cliff with Muse. So I'll need to defer to your guys' expertise.
The Second Law has 2 good songs.
Go on.
Madness and Panic Station.
Ooh. I'd say I would have said Supremacy and Unsustainable.
Oh, I do know Supremacy from that line where he goes, "Your supremacy."
Panic Station is pure energy. I love that song. That always gets me up.
Panic Station is great fun. Madness is
A great band.
Unusual for Muse, but I kind of dig it for that reason. It's a song they do again later in many ways. There's lots of stuff on this album I don't remember. Obviously, you've got the Second Law doublet that ends the album, which is just Muse doing dubstep for some reason.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's so unabashed. It's like they totally unapologetically just made some dubstep at the end. They just played around. They got some kind of synthesizer and just pressed buttons, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Which one is it? No, Supremacy isn't the Olympic song, is it? It's Survival, isn't it?
Which Survival. Supremacy was going to be the James Bond one.
That's right. Yeah.
Adele came on.
It's just guff. It's just utter guff. It's nothing. Survival. What a stupid song.
It's very boring. It's almost like somebody making a parody of Muse at the end.
Yeah.
And like UW, I cannot recall anything about the middle songs on that album.
Yeah.
Explorers, Big Freeze, Save Me. I had to look up the track list, and I don't know. I vaguely know Save Me, but the rest of them just don't mean anything to me at all. It's very clear that there's a big divide between good and bad on this one.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like this could be the lowest ranked album so far then.
Yeah, maybe. In fact, yeah, I think it will be.
Do you think C, or are we putting it in poos?
Poos.
Poos.
You want to poos? I think
I want to poos it.
Good enough to put it in C.
Do you think one song's good enough to raise it? I'm not sure.
Panic Station, though.
It is Panic Station, but equally there's, 11 other songs? 12 other songs. And I mean, Madness is good as well, but we're going to have to put something in poos, realistically.
I know what I'm putting in poos, and it's such poo.
Interesting.
All right, I may defer this one to poos as an album. It is
okay.
So chaotic.
It's going in the poo bin of poos.
Poo bin.
And then we get to the penultimate album of Muse's discography today with 2015's Drones. This is another album which I've not really listened to that much of, to be perfectly honest. So, guys, what do you think?
I remember getting really excited for this album off the back of the first single, which was Psycho, because it was big old chuggy riff, and I was like, wow, this is great. I can't wait for this album.
Such a great fan.
And then for about a week or two after it came out, I loved it. Like songs like Reapers, I adore still to this day, to be fair. It's probably my favorite on this album. And Dead Inside is just a fun little opener, but otherwise I don't remember an awful lot about this album now.
I didn't like what I remember. Not much at all, really. They've always had, it's a bit of a weird relationship where Muse have always sounded like they're saying something political. They've always sounded like they've got something to say, but not actually outright saying it. It's not like vote for Obama kind of thing in their albums. It's not big and strong and everything. This one was just so undeniably a political album, and I kind of felt like the music suffered for it, wrapping it around that ideology a little bit. I got no problem with bands making political statements or anything, but only insofar as it doesn't take up more of the development time than the music does. And this one, there just wasn't that much interesting about it. The most you can say about it is to analyze lyrics. But yeah, I liked Reapers. That was a really good song. And I'm sometimes I'm in a mood for Psycho. When you want something simple and bumpy, but yeah, it lacks all of the complexity of that 3-album high of Muse. Of Origins, Absolution, and Black Holes.
Black Holes, yeah.
So do you guys think it's better than Second Law or worse than Second Law?
I mean, it's more forgettable than Second Law, and by law, it has to therefore go below Second Law.
By Second Law?
I think it is the poopiest of all of their albums.
The poosiest.
Yeah, there's more poop there than any other.
It's right in the bottom of the bowl then. It's below the waterline at this point. So there we have it. I always hate these lists where the albums start off really strong and then they get progressively weaker and weaker.
It happens more often than not, unfortunately.
Yeah. The only one that like really bucked the trend was Foo Fighters, because theirs is all over the shop. Like that goes up and down all the place. But anyway, let's see if we can end with a high with 2018's Simulation Theory, which today is their latest album. Again, not one that I've heard that much of. All I remember is the really sort of like cyberpunky neon wave music videos that, or at least one music video that accompanied it. But does the music kind of, follow that trend, or is it just...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They leaned into it hard. It was thematically on point.
Yeah.
They even did that with all of their promotion, everything. He started adopting those glasses that had like the text on them. They were wearing leather and had vaporwave aesthetics everywhere. Yeah, they committed. It wasn't just an aesthetic.
Interesting.
This is actually the ones that I saw them live at. There was their Simulation Theory tour. So I got to experience it from both sides. I like it quite a lot, actually. The more I listened to it, the more I liked it as well.
In the lead up to this coming out, I was dreading it because I was like, oh man, this is going to be some real, pound shop trash, isn't it? And no, this is really fun, to be honest.
I mean, highlights would probably be Pressure.
Pressure for me. That riff is just delicious.
I love the harmony with the high end. No, don't push me. Pressure. Propaganda feels like they made it just so that it could follow Panic Station, and which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea. But if I had to choose between Propaganda and Panic Station, it's an easy choice. And another like absolute banger would be Thought Contagion. Another loud, waily, operatic, big, chunky guitar riffs. That is kind of what we come to love and expect from Muse. There's not that much that it feels like they made Dig Down to bring in the norms.
I'd say Dig Down is just madness again.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking you mean the 80s British band.
There's a British band called Dig Down?
No, Madness.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I
was like, what a shit name.
I love Dig Down's latest single.
Put some of that Dig Down on. Isn't that also a crappy like Atari game?
That's Dig Dug.
Dig Dug. That's the one. Fair enough. You should make a Dig Dug song.
Dig Down is the Russian, non-copyright equivalent. But I mean, you got me interested in checking this album out. I'm a fan of like the whole vaporwave aesthetic, and I like a good thematic concept album. So it sounds like it was a bit of a return to form after a few years of, or a few albums, should I say, of not quite delivering.
If I was being very cruel to them, I would say they lost a little bit of their potential. They knew how limited. They made the best use of their time, I think. There is nothing that is particularly wasted. They knew that if they sort of lose a little bit of your attention throughout, it'd be like, oh, God, Muse are on another one of their weird tangents where they just experiment. And it's like, if I was being really mean to them, I'd sort of have, like, say that they'd reassessed their place within modern rock and been like, okay, we've got to really, really engage a little bit more and sort of cut out some of those extraneous elements that people don't necessarily buy their albums for.
I mean, to their credit, we have had a chat over various things we've done over the past couple of weeks about what defines a dad rock band in sort of 2021. And I think Muse have done a good job, despite being around for, well over 2 decades now, of never falling into the, at least maybe a couple of singles.
I disagree. I think Muse are dad rock is still dad rock.
Yeah. When I saw them on their tour 2018, early 2019, I was probably the youngest person within like walking radius.
Yeah,
there was a small crowd of people down in the standing area right at the front, jumping up and down. But if you like looked around the entire audience, there were people like 50 and up just moshing out to Plug In Baby. It's so good.
The thing is that I wouldn't necessarily say that just because a band's audience is skews older, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a dad rock band. My sort of impression, Well, it's not so much a definition as just sort of an example. Like you get bands like, you know, like Nickelback and that sort of, yeah, U2, that sort of stuff. Whereas it's very much sort of more middle of the road. I've never considered Muse one of those bands that sort of skew down the middle of the road. They've always been one to sort of either push the boundaries for better or worse in one direction or another. And it seems like Simulation Theory is them doing that again and sort of not resting on the laurels of what's worked for them in the past and trying something new, which I would say goes against the you know, the definition of a dad rock band. But maybe as I say, it's all subjective.
I mean, I'd say they're probably less dad rock on Simulation Theory, but when they've just done Resistance, Second Law, and Drones, those three are dad rock, you know, standing pillars.
Fair enough. As I say, I haven't listened to those ones enough to really make a fair judgment. But
I do agree. This is a different direction than they've taken before, and that in itself is something to be praised. You know,
and the other caveat is that dad rock isn't always bad. There is some very, very good dad rock.
Oh no, there's a lot of that. Like a lot. I mean, the thing is, the older you get, the more the sort of bands you were listening to when you were younger will become dad rock purely because the people around you are becoming dads. And it's not a bad thing, you know, like there's a lot of bands, like we call them Muse dad rock now. Doesn't mean they're a bad band. Dad rock isn't intrinsically bad just because it's dad rock. It's still, you know, someone's got to like it. And a lot of the time it is good. I mean, there was that compilation that got put out recently called, now that's what I call Dad Rock Aware, and it had like Sum 41 on it. And it's like, well, you know.
I mean, he's called Derek, which is the daddest of the dad names. So, but anyway, we digress.
Then Foo Fighters would be dad rock.
Oh,
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah, my mate Dave. He makes rock now.
Oh, Growly boy. Yeah, I mean, we've had it on the Foo Fighters one. We sort of said that, like, is it Sonic Highways,
Concrete and Gold.
Concrete and Gold and Sonic Highways both very much go into the dad rock territory. But
yeah,
still, I mean, Sonic Highways is still a banger of an album in my opinion. But we're not talking about Foo Fighters. We are talking about Muse's Simulation Theory. Where would you put Simulation Theory?
See, I really don't know with Simulation Theory.
Yeah. I've been struggling over this one. I think I hesitantly put it alongside Showbiz in B.
So Showbiz is in C.
Oh. I'll put it B then.
Yeah, I think B.
Better or worse than the Resistance?
Better.
I think as an album, it's more fully realized than the Resistance.
Yeah.
We'll put it at the top of...
Resistance is two things, very much two things.
Yeah.
The songs that people kind of wanted to hear, and then the songs that Muse wanted to make. And Simulation Theory, for who knows what their intentions were, it's a solid, self-contained album.
Fair enough. Well, that is it in terms of albums. So I'll run down the list as it stands, and then we can have a little think about if there's anything we want to rejig. So right down at the bottom of Poos, we have Drones, side by side with the Second Law. C, we have Showbiz on its own. B, at the bottom, we have the Resistance, and then Simulation Theory. A, on its own, we have Absolution, which fits. A is for Absolution. I like that. And then very good, we have Origin of Symmetry, and then Black Holes and Revelations topping the chart, which if people watching at home will now see, and if you guys have got it open as well, that makes a nice E shape.
Yeah, I see that.
That is a very lovely tier list to come around. Yeah, that's...
I like a good E. Someone put up the E meme. It'll be me because I'm editing this. There we go. Yeah, so that's the list as it stands at the moment. Would you guys jangle anything about?
No, I think that looks pretty.
I think that's right.
Dead on.
I mean, obviously, there's always going to be an element of subjectivity, both with us individually and what have you. But yeah, I would say, from my limited knowledge, this looks pretty good. And the other final caveat, is that we are only ranking Muse albums in relation to each other. We're not in the grand scheme of music in general. So we are all fans. Just because we're putting stuff in Poos doesn't necessarily think it's a bad album. We just got, the quality is there. So something's got to put the table. But I think that about does it. So I've had a lot of fun talking about Muse. I hope you two have as well.
I did have a lot of time for this.
A lot of time
at least an hour. It was great.
Very good.
It's a good trip down memory lane. There's some good music there.
You love to see it. You love to see it. And we hope you've enjoyed watching at home as well. Let us know if there's any band you think we should feature next. Let us know how you'd rank the Muse albums, because it's really interesting when we read the comments on these tier lists to seeing what albums people love that perhaps we weren't so big on, or vice versa. So definitely
there'll be opinions on the Muse one. I think there'll be some opinions.
R/Muse doesn't know what's going to hit it. We'll be back at some point with our next tier list. Dobby, I believe you are recording one with fellow UDS member Craig very soon on Gorillaz.
Sure am.
Interesting stuff. Another band which, to my shame, I don't know that much of their discography back to forth, so I'll be interesting to see what albums I should start with. But that will be dropping at some point in the future. But until then, my name has been Tom.
My name's been Dobby.
My name remains Drew.
Of course it does. And we've been UDS Music. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Drucifer Friday went to the town and he bought a baguette for his tea. It made him smile.